What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another review video. Big shout out goes out to Eskute for reaching out to me and asking me to review one of their electric mountain bikes. This is the M200 model. And just for size comparison, I am 5'8", I weigh 160 pounds, and this is what I look like on this bike. Pretty comfortable for me. Now the seat post is adjustable as well as the handlebar stem, so you can kind of adjust it to your preference. As far as the suspension goes, we do have a generic front fork, and it is better than not having anything, but it is generic, and we don't have suspension in the rear. This bike is a hardtail. In this review, I'm going to go over everything there is to know about this electric mountain bike. I'm going to talk about the specs, I'll do a speed test, a brake test, I'm going to ride around and talk about the riding experience, and we might even take it on a little mini off-road adventure just to see its off-road capabilities. There will be chapters down below, so feel free to skip around to whatever part is of interest to you. But first, let's get started with the specs. So this is the Eskute M200 electric mountain bike. It features a 1200 watt peak hub motor in the rear, coupled with a 48 volts 10.4 amp hour removable battery. Eskute claims that this should give you a range of up to 55 miles depending on riding mode and riding conditions, of course. We have 27.5 inch by 2.15 inch tires, coupled with mechanical brakes front and rear with 160 millimeter rotors. This bike also has a front suspension fork for a smooth ride, a 21 speed Shimano gear system. We also have an adjustable seat, as well as an adjustable handlebar stem. And in the front of the bike we have a quad LED headlight that's decently bright. The total weight of this bike is 52 pounds with the max load capacity of 350 pounds. And up on the handlebars we have our front brake, our half twist throttle, and our Shimano gear system. On the left side we have our display with the on-off button and mode selector buttons, our rear brake, the rest of our Shimano gear system, the headlight switch, and a horn. And that is pretty much it for the specs. Now as far as the price, this current model goes for about $469, which is absolutely ridiculous. Is it a good value for money? That is exactly what we're going to find out today. So without further ado, let's jump into our speed test. Alright, now before I do the speed test, I do want to show you the starting procedure. This battery does have an on-off switch, and that has to be switched on in order for the bike to turn on. Now after you made sure the battery is on, there's actually two ways of turning this bike on. One way is just hitting this M button down here for a couple seconds and the bike will turn on, or you can use this included NFC chip, NFC card that it comes with, and just put it up to the screen and the bike will turn on. I personally really like that, and that is very nice. Now this bike does have 5 pedal assist modes. 0 means no throttle, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 being the fastest mode, and that is what I'm going to test right now. So I got my phone's GPS app speed reset, and let's see what kind of speed we can get out of this thing. Okay, so in mode 5, the takeoff is very nice. By the way, I'll be using throttle only for this. You could use pedal assist as well, but for the speed test I'll be using throttle only. Very nice, kind of gradual, it doesn't yank you back, but sufficient enough speed. And the bike is showing 27.8. Now this bike is supposed to hit a top speed of 28 miles an hour. Of course we're gonna verify that. I'm just gonna go for a little bit longer just to give my GPS enough time to catch up. And there you go, 27.9. Okay, I think that's enough. Let's stop right here and see our result. Alright, so hopefully you guys can see that. My GPS app is showing 26.8 miles per hour GPS verified. Now the bike did show 27.9 at one point, so we are about a 0.1 mile per hour off from what the display is showing. So not the exact 28 miles an hour, but at the same time, as I mentioned earlier, I weigh 160 pounds, and if you weigh less than that, you might be able to actually hit that top speed. But that is what I was able to get. But anyways, that was our speed test. Now let's do our brake test. Now these are mechanical brakes which can be adjusted. To be honest with you, it does seem like my rear brake could be adjusted to give it a little bit more bite. This is how it came out of the box, so I'm just going to test it like that, but it does feel like it needs to be adjusted. Second thing is, these are brand new and they're only going to get better with time. Now, one thing I do like is the size of the rotor, which is pretty nice. But with that being said, I'm making my way up to about 20 miles an hour. I'm going to be braking in 3, 2, go. Ooh. Okay, so we did not lock up the brakes. They could definitely be adjusted to give them more bite. So from this light pole to where I'm at, we're looking at probably somewhere between 20 and 25 feet, which is not the greatest, but at the same time, these could definitely be adjusted to give them more bite. And that's the nice thing about mechanical brakes, is you can kind of adjust them as you please. These definitely need an adjustment. Like I said earlier, I just used them as they were out of the box, but just riding around, I could tell that the rear one needs to be adjusted just a bit. Very easy job to do. Once you do those things, you can definitely expect way better performance out of these brakes. But anyways, that was our brake test. Now let's talk about the riding experience, which is very interesting. These are huge tires, 27.5 inch, and you just feel like on top of the world. And for the price of this bike, I am very impressed so far. Now, the sitting position is a bit hunched over, kind of like a mountain bike would be, so nothing too crazy there. The nice thing about it is the seat can be adjusted and the handlebar can be adjusted, as I showed you in the intro, so you can kind of make it your own. As far as stability, this bike is very, very stable. See how it does over a bump with no hands on the handlebar. Very nice, very sturdy, straight as an arrow. And again, the feeling of being on top of everything is really nice. As far as that front suspension goes, it is decent. Like I said in the intro, it's a generic fork, but it's way better than not having anything, that's for sure. I personally really like the response of the throttle. Very nice, very responsive. I really like that. As far as the seat itself, I'm going to show you that right now. It is, I say, medium stiffness. Hopefully it comes across on the camera. Like medium plus on the stiffness. I'm sure it would break in with time and become a little more comfortable. As far as the power, just so you guys can see, this thing just wants to fly up. Such a light bike that if you knew what you're doing, you can definitely wheelie this thing. Personally, I don't know how to do it, so I'm not gonna embarrass myself, but the bike is light enough and the power of the motor is big enough where you can definitely wheelie it. The power of the motor is plenty for this thing. Another cool thing about this bike is the fact that it has 21 gears. I've never reviewed an e-bike with so many gears. That is pretty nice, and it's a fairly light bike, so if you are riding and you happen to run out of battery, you can definitely pedal this thing around without too much difficulty. Now it is time for us to test its off-road capabilities. Now this trail right here, it's fairly flat. A place like this is no match for this bike's power. Now let's step it up a notch and go to something a little bit more extreme. And let's see how the suspension handles. I want to check suspension, I want to check the power. Now it may not come across like it on camera, but this trail is very bumpy and it did rain here. Let's see if we can make it up this hill over here, which is fairly steep. Oh yeah, nice, way better than I expected. There you go. Look at this thing. That is crazy. Definitely enough power for such a small bike. Those wheels are huge. It's crazy. Alright, let's see how we do downhill over here. Let's go. Oh yeah. Alright, so again, the suspension is generic, but it's okay for a place like this. I wouldn't take it on something too extreme, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it is a $500 e-bike, so there's only so much you can expect. but I'm highly impressed. All right, well, that went better than expected. I want to stop real quick and check out some things on the bike. I usually do after an off-road section. I'm mainly looking at like the headset, which is pretty solid. Tires are good. Nothing seems loose. Pretty good. All right, so what do I think about the Eskute M200 electric mountain bike? Let's do things I like, things I don't like, and is this thing good value for money or not? I like the overall look of this thing. Very basic mountain bike look, and just gets the job done, you know what I mean? The second thing I like is the power of the motor. Now, it is a very light bike, so this thing starts moving very fast. Now, I always say in my reviews, as soon as you pass 25 miles an hour on these things, it feels like you're flying. So now I was only able to hit about 26.8 or whatever it was. Not the advertised speed, but it was still pretty fast. It feels fast. And another thing I really like is that gear system. Now, usually you get the Shimano 6-speed or 7-speed. This has the other cassette, the 3-gear cassette, which makes it a 21-speed. It's very nice to have, especially if you get stuck without battery, or if you just want to actually exercise, you can remove the battery, making this bike even lighter, and you have a mountain bike pretty much. So that I really like. Now let's do things I don't like, and there are a few. One of them is the generic fork. Now, it is better than not having anything, that's for sure, but it is generic. To be honest with you, it performed a lot better than I expected, but it is still generic. The second thing I don't like is the fact that I wasn't able to hit the advertised speed. I wish I could. Now, there are plenty of factors that come into play when determining top speed. So, you know, the weight of the rider, air in the tires, the weather outside, if it's windy or not. So I'm not gonna fully hold it against the bike. I just wish that I was able to hit 28 miles an hour. It would have been crazy. And that's pretty much it, because for the price of this thing, you can't really complain. You're getting very decent stuff for the price, so that's also something to consider. Now, with all that being said, is this thing good value for money or not? We're talking $469, and I might have a discount code for you guys. I'm not 100% sure. If I do, it will be in the description along with a link if you're interested in this thing. I mean, it is very hard to beat. It is very good value for money. For the price, you're getting very decent components. Not going to be the top of the line components, of course, but very decent. I'm highly surprised with the power of this motor. That is very nice for this type of bike. And as I mentioned earlier, you get an e-bike, and technically if you remove that battery, the bike will become a lot lighter, and you have a mountain bike as well with 21 gears. That is very nice to have. Now, I'm pretty sure I was able to go over everything there's to know about this electric mountain bike, but in case I missed anything, please leave it in the comment section and I will do my best to answer. This has been the Eskute M200 electric mountain bike review. I appreciate you guys watching as always, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.